So wonderful to have all of you together with me this afternoon. I'm Daniel Minty, and I'm one of the All Things CBT faculty members and judges of the 2021 World Championships of Shame Attacking. So, Lee, you're to the right of me. You want to say hi and tell us who and how and where you are?
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Hello, I'm Lee Harrington. I'm a psychiatrist and level 5 team CBT therapist. I joined Daniel as one of the All Things CBT faculty members and judges for the World Championship of Shame Attacking for 2021. And I am coming to you from Davis, California.
Thank you, Lee. Haruka, you're next on my screen.
Sure. So hi, I'm Haruka. I'm a member of the All Things CBT group. And this morning I'm joining from Tokyo, Japan. It's 7 o'clock here. And I'm really excited to be your winner, one of your winners on this amazing contest. Very excited today.
Thanks, Haruka. I think you have more books than I do, unless that's a screensaver behind you or something.
These are real books.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I hear people don't read much anymore, but I can tell that you're an exception.
Absolutely.
And Heather, I'm calling on you because you're about to sneeze. Yeah.
Thank you. Good little extra bonus shame attacking. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here and honored to have been selected as one of the judges of the 2021 World Champion Shame Attacking Contest. And I'm a level 4 team CBT therapist. I'm a psychiatrist with a practice in Oakland, California. And I'm coming to you from upstate New York in the Adirondack Park, where I've been for the last 3 weeks, having my soul opened up. So really glad to be here with all of you.
I've been enjoying some pictures that you've been sharing, Heather, with various folks and feeling a tad jealous that you're in such a green and gorgeous place these days. Yeah. And Maria Elena, last but not least.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Good to see you. It's my pleasure. It's an honor with stay with you. I am like wife, mom, and at the same time as a mental health promoter in the LA County. Good to see you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Maria Elena. Probably our listeners are aware that we sponsored this contest. And from what I know, it was first conducted by Albert Ellis, one of the founding parents of cognitive behavioral therapy in New York City. And I learned about it from Dr. David Burns, who studied with Albert Ellis a bit and at his institute there in New York City. So we decided we'd reactivate the contest and give anyone worldwide the opportunity to do some shame attacking. And I wonder, Haruka, if you could share a bit about your entries with us. Heather was very impressed with the sheer number of shame attacks that you had done. But maybe you could give us a little backstory about your submissions.
Sure. Well, actually, I think I shared 5, but in total, I think I've done more than 10, like 12 or 13. I actually had to select the good ones, the ones that I thought were worth sharing. So yeah, I think the most memorable one for me was the very first one I did. And it was the one that I went to Baskin Robbins, and I just stood in line. And when it came to my turn, I just went to the counter and I asked for a rice ball at Baskin Robbins. So that was probably the most memorable one for me because it was the first time. I didn't know what was going to happen. And at the time, so I did it as a part of my work actually with you, Daniel. So I was kind of struggling with some social anxiety, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but it turned out nothing scary happened. So that was just a very special experience for me.
I've spent a little time in Japan, and I've noticed that compared to the US or Italy, other places, that there's a lot of ritual and formality around food, including what in the West we'd call fast food. That things are done carefully and precisely and packaged nicely, and people bow when they exchange money and food. So it's a somewhat formal setting. I don't know if that's a word that you would use. And I wonder, was it somewhat intimidating for you to go into a formal setting like that and basically be very silly?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for explaining a bit of the culture background. Yes, I have to say that I did all this in Tokyo, which I remember when you told me to go ahead and try something like this. I remember actually explaining to you, like, it's different in Tokyo. Maybe people in the United States can do this, but people in Tokyo do not do things like this. So yeah, it was intimidating. Yes, definitely. When I first went in, as I'm speaking right now, I actually remember my hands shaking a bit. And I was terrified. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was really expecting some dirty looks from the people at the store and people waiting behind me, thinking like, what is she doing? But no, people were much more much nicer than I thought. So yeah.
And I'll just invite Maria, Elena, Heather, Lee to jump in if you have questions or comments as we're chatting together. I think you also said to me, Haruka, that it might be particularly unusual for a Japanese woman to color outside the lines.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a little more room for guys to be silly and walk the wrong way down the street or something. But you tended not to see women doing that.
At least that was the impression I had before I went into, before I did this. But, well, I actually did it. I did. And as I shared with you, I did 5 more silly things. And in reality, I did actually a bit more. And surprisingly, they were all well accepted, I'd say. So I had to kind of question the premise I had in a good way, which was also a bonus that came with all this shame attacking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say that premise was that you were challenging by walking up to the ticket booth at Libadashi Station and saying, how do I get to Libadashi Station? And then having the person take you very seriously. He's a little confused, but was serious. And I think said to you, oh, well, you're here.
That was a good one too. No, yeah, the premise I had, I think, was that there's like a very, very strict rule that I needed to follow, at least in this society, being a Japanese woman in Tokyo. I thought if you were a foreigner, maybe visiting Tokyo, like people will understand. They have like different ways and are a bit more acceptable. But I thought, at least I thought, being a Japanese person, I'm expected to know what's expected of me. So therefore, there's a very specific way that I needed to act living here. So I guess that's the premise I was challenging.
It's certainly my impression. When I was in Japan, a friend of mine who's an American woman lived there for about 30 years.
Wow.
And she said, you know, I'm still a real outsider. And the longer I live here, the more I realize that she grew up in Wisconsin, in the American Midwest, and pretty different than Japanese society, where she was explaining if you were at a business meeting and you were meeting the spouse of a director or a subdirector or the secretary to the subdirector, there'd be different words, different pronouns to use for each of those slots.
Yes.
And misspeaking would be a big faux pas.
Absolutely. Yeah. She's been in Japan long enough. Yeah.
Heather, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I have so many questions, but Haruka, you said you did over 10 or 12 different shame attacks, and I was wondering if what it was like, what the later ones were like compared to earlier ones, if there was any shift for you, because you did a lot of them.
I did. No, I think I did much more than I should have. But I think after my 5th or maybe 6th shame attack, it was always scary when I first did something, but I was starting to get excited, like just trying to come up with an idea of like, okay, like next time, what can I challenge, you know, like, because I know that every single time that, of course, it's really scary before I jump in, but after it's done, it's like one imaginary barrier gone for me. So like, well, after the Baskin-Robbins one, well, I kind of learned that, oh, like it's okay to just you know, go to a store and like maybe say something that's not really expected. So yeah, like one by one, it's always frightening, but it started to get exciting after like a certain point. So yeah.
I heard Matt May talk about some rejection practice he was doing, and he said for him there was kind of a turning point after about 6 rejections. He kind of found a rhythm. Yeah. And sounds like that was, you mentioned that same number.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always like the fear kind of is still there, like always. It never gets like totally okay, but you kind of like, you start to expect maybe like something good might happen, you know, like on your first one, you're only like 99% of your mind is telling you like this is going to be like you're just going to jump into like a huge disaster. But like after 6, maybe like 5, 6, 7, somewhere like that, your mind starts telling you like maybe there's like maybe a 50% chance that people will be nice about it. So yeah.
That sounds very familiar to me, Haruka, from doing shame attacking. And like you, I find that when I do something unusual, the response that I tend to get from people is very gracious. So I'll walk into store that doesn't have something and asks for it. And the person will say, well, we don't have that, but let me look around. Maybe I can find, right? And then I start feeling bad about someone, doing all this stuff that's not part of their job because I asked something silly. But I also love it when that happens. I might have shared the story with some of you of was getting some cancer treatment and went out in the mountains for a hike the next day or something and started feeling really bad. And when I got back to the car, I told Julie, I'm just going to lie down. I'm not sure what's happening or what's going to happen. So I just lay down in the street, which would be some shame attack. I think David Burns has done that with some of his people. They just lay down on the sidewalk or on the street. Well, the first car that stopped was a paramedic who was saying, wow, can I help you? Check my vitals and said, well, I think you're okay. You seem pretty dehydrated. And you're kind of shocky. Would you like a blanket? And I said, absolutely. He said, well, we have one in the car. We'll bring you a blanket. So then he drives off. And then the next car was an ER room nurse. And she stopped and wanted to check me out. And then she went packing, and then a physician stopped, like an ER doc. And see, if I hadn't done that, all these cars would have gone by, and I would have had ideas about the kind of people in those cars. But when I did the unusual thing, I found out actually there are, good Samaritans sharing the highway with me. It really changed my sense of who I was traveling with there. And I wondered if it had that effect for you, Haruka, to reset your perception of your neighbors there in Tokyo.
Yeah, I love your story of the cars passing and when you were not really feeling well, because I think I experienced the exact same thing. It's one of the shame attacks I did. I don't remember if I shared this with you, but was one that I went to the guard at the Imperial Palace in the center of Tokyo, and I asked that, and he was like this huge, how can I say, like huge security guard type of like really buff, well-built kind of guy, and at the time, one of the fears I had was fear towards men, and we're kind of more like strict and needed to like act by the rules, whereas women were more flexible. That was really one of the fears I had. So when I was walking up to the guard, like my heart was really like going fast, I remember. And then the shame attack I did was I asked him, where's the Imperial Palace? It was right in front of me, but but then the guard was just really polite. He didn't even like give me a he didn't even give me like a weird looking face. He was just super polite, saying like, oh, it's really it's right here in front of you. You're here. Please enjoy your day. Please enjoy your visit. And that was it. And that was a really that was a how can I say, like a huge experience, like a experience that had a really huge impact on me. Really was like a shock to my system, thinking, because whenever I used to see those guards walking by when I was walking by the palace, I was kind of intimidated and always a bit scared. But from really that experience changed that 180 degrees. I was like, wow, these people are really, really nice. So yeah, I think that just changed my perception of those of like just people walking on the street in general as well. So a change from where I saw everyone thinking like these people are all strict and like mean, it changed it to me thinking, wow, no, these people might actually be really, really nice.
Mhm. Yeah, so many layers there of social stuff and gender stuff and roles in a society that can be very ritualized. It's one of the things I enjoy about visiting Japan. It's a very concrete culture. People pay attention to stuff and how it's done and how it's said, of course. And so in that context, to color outside the lines in the ways that you have done takes a bit more courage than it might take in Los Angeles or even Mexico City, something like that.
May I ask, Haruka, I'm wondering what inspired you, and if you have kind of thoughts to share on this experience with your colleagues, with your fellow country people, and fellow citizens of the world about this experience.
Sure. What inspired me was, well, it was one of the things that really pushed me to do this was reading Dr. Burns' book. I have read Feeling Good, When Panic Attacks, Intimate Connections. I read all those three. And I've also been listening to Dr. Burns' podcast. So I've heard of the word shame attacking, and I heard some of the stories that people were already sharing about what this method can do. So so when I was working with Daniel and when he suggested it, well, I was nervous, but I knew that this could potentially be successful, and I really wanted to overcome some of my fears. So that's definitely one of the things that pushed me. And sorry, what was your question? The second question?
Lee may have frozen here for us.
Oh.
Yeah, I think she had been asking about what was inspiring that. And then if there's something in particular you'd want to share with our CBT, LICBT colleagues globally about shame attacking or exposure for social anxiety.
Okay, sure. One thing I definitely want to share is well, for me at least, it definitely was a powerful method. Like so before I actually did it, I have read the books. I did know, like I did know in theory what was supposed to happen, and like I've read a lot that probably a lot of the fears that I have in my mind aren't really like not actually just in my mind, and if I tested them, they might not be worth like being afraid of. But it wasn't until I actually did it that it really it was just so different when I did it. It just I just understood it. I was like, wow, really, like it was not worth being scared of. So I think yeah, I would say this is a very, very powerful method. At least for me, it worked.
Yeah, that's certainly been my experience personally and professionally, that the effect size of doing in vivo exposure is very large and very immediate. Some other methods take a while before we really see the effect that they will have. Behavioral activation, say, for depression. We don't get that in 1 minute. We would understand the value of that, over hours, days, and weeks. But exposure to something that we're afraid of has that very immediate and very large effect. And for that reason, it's one of my favorite things, both to do myself, if I need to inoculate myself against some shame or social anxiety of some kind, and then to offer to patients who are ready, as you were, Haruka, to just be done with living in a smaller world that was being governed by too much negative thinking.
For me, I want to share something very quick. I'm so sorry for my English is not very perfect, okay? My inspiration was my husband and then my daughters, because my husband always told me, Maria Elena, I want to sing a song with me, please. And I said, no. So at that time, when I took my classes with Dr. Victoria, so Dr. Victoria pushed me to do it. So I was thinking so many times, what should I do? Oh my gosh. So finally, I'm taking some classes for the Citrus College in California. And I said, okay, can you give me permission to sing a song with my classmate and you teacher? And said, yes, of course. So in that time, very quickly, I made it. So that was beautiful experience for me because I'm very, very shy. So, and I did it. So that's why my inspiration about my husband.
Thanks, Maria Elena, for sharing some of the backstory for your submission. Your husband and also your children were asking you to sing?
Yes, for many, because my husband and my daughters especially are very enthusiastic, very very active. So in my house, always they are singing, dancing, but not me. So that's why so this is my opportunity to do it.
And how was your body feeling when you asked, I think it was Carlos, and said, excuse me, could I take a minute or two? What was going on in your body there?
First, I was very, very nervous and I felt a lot of heat inside my body. My heart was beating so hard and my legs were shaking. This is I was feel.
So your body perceived this is a very dangerous situation. It would be like you were, suddenly in front of a wild animal or something. Your body said, oh my God.
Yes, not dangerous, but very embarrassed because I'm very shy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is that was my experience.
Yes, you were feeling very embarrassed. And I think you said in your submission, I don't sing well, and so I don't sing. Something
Yes.
like that.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. And I'm a shy person, so my husband or children can sing or dance, but not me.
Not me.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then you did sing and sang for the whole world because your submission was posted on the World Wide Web. What was it like for you after having done that shame attack?
Later, I was relieved that I had the courage to do it in front of my peers during the session of Zoom, especially Daniel, in English, because I'm still learning English. And oh my gosh, that was the very hard part for me.
Yes, I thought that you got extra credit for singing in a second language. It would be like me volunteering to do karaoke in Tokyo or something. That would be a double shame attack for me.
Oh, I can't believe that. It's true. Totally, I agree with you, Daniel.
I think Heather has done some singing shame attacking. I remember a video of you on your bike. Was it, Heather?
Yeah, I bike to a local kind of viewpoint where people bike up to, and I asked somebody to hold my phone and record me singing, "Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble," into the phone. And it was really embarrassing. Mariana, you were describing the physical sensations, and yeah, they're really intense. And as you were describing what you were feeling, you used the word courage. That was what I was thinking, like, what courage? And I love, Dan, you were talking about coloring outside the lines. This, that we're social learners. We can learn a lot by other people telling us sort of, what works and what doesn't work. But there's this other kind of learning where you're trying things. You're present with the world. You're not following a script or a guideline. You're actually finding out what's there. And so, Haruka, you talked about discovering that this guard was actually quite gracious with you, right? And I think that's really such an exciting form of learning that I think can get kind of lost, especially when kids go to school and you have to follow the rules and learn what other people are teaching you. And so kind of breaking loose of that and rediscovering the world, it is a lot of the way very young children learn, right? In this very playful, exploratory way without a lot of preconceptions, just what's out there.
Yes, Haruka.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that I love the expression Heather just used, rediscovering the world, because that's exactly, that's really how it felt for me, like rediscovering the world when I, like one by one, these shame attacks, it was like, yeah, but like really like discovering that the world is not something that I thought. It was not something that was in my mind, but I was like learning that it's as it is, more learning the world as it is. That's how it felt. And I also wanted to say that I saw the YouTube video of Maria Elena singing, and that video really brought tears to my eyes. Especially, I think it's especially because once you've done it, you know how much courage and it takes to actually do it. And when Maria Elena, you were sharing the sensations in your body, like I can really relate to. Maybe it's not the exact same thing, but at least I feel like I can relate to what you were saying, and I think I had the same sensation in my body. So that I just love that video.
Thank you so much for your words. Okay, thank you.
It's funny that I also felt particularly emotional, Maria Elena, seeing that video, because I think it was this mixture of seeing you be, you were clearly facing a fear. You looked afraid, and at the same time, you looked like you were having fun, like you were getting a kick out of it. And Haruka, you talked about what changed. You're like, no, I'm still scared, but it's kind of exciting. Like fear and excitement are not that far away from each other. And I thought in that video, you were really in that sweet spot of kind of those two feelings coming together.
Yes, of course. Definitely, I learned to recognize my distortion. Really, really, I recognize that. And I said, like a song of Celia Cruz, like the life is the carnival. So just I had a good memories in my life, especially in the United States. Very, very grateful. So the life is precious. So just continue wherever I want. Definitely.
I'm remembering a story my sister Nancy told me. She came out of a restaurant in Claremont, California, near where Maria Elena lives. And a young child was walking in front of her. I think she might have been 3 or 4 years old. And she stopped in the courtyard of the restaurant and looked up. And then she yelled to her mother in this very excited voice. She said, "Mom, the tree is singing." And the mom looked at the tree and looked at the child and she said, "No, honey, trees don't sing." So I think that we're told the world is this way, right? We're trained to, yeah, trees don't sing and so forth. And then we're living in this world that's smaller as a result. And certainly what I'm hearing is one of the effects of shame attacking is it refreshes our experience of the world. Instead of living in the old things, okay, a bird sings, a tree sits there. But we're open to a more direct experience. As Haruka, you found this big buff guy who was just quite a, prince of a fellow, it sounds like. And we can reconnect with the reality of things. And for some of us, trees sing. Absolutely, trees sing, and horses talk to us. And the world's a much more interesting place than you would get out of a school book or something. Well, I'd also like to, I guess it's time to announce our winners. And I think we could all unmute and give our bronze medalist a big round of applause. Haruka?
Woo!
Thank you.
And really grateful to you, Haruka, for getting up bright and early and joining us here this morning. Our second place winner isn't with us. That is Jacob Towery. And Jacob submitted a couple of very diverse shame attacks. And he had some help from his son, who was his videographer in California and in Hawaii. But we were quite impressed with Jacob's imagination and fearlessness. He too was out in front of everyone, being pretty silly. And so a round of applause for Jacob for his,
Woo!
yeah. And then a big round of applause for our first place winner, Maria Elena, who stole all of our hearts, it sounds like.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be sending you the tiara in the mail.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wonder, is there anything else folks would like to say or do? Nudge, nudge. before we call it a wrap for the 2021 World Championships of Shame Attacking?
I don't know if Heather and Leah has any question for me because I remember Dr. Heather asked me about if I have more shame attacks in my life, something like that.
Yeah, I'd love, yes, Maria Elena, thanks for coming back to that. Have you continued to do shame attacking?
Sure. So specifically in my life during the United States, I came to the United States 17 years ago, and I was very, very afraid to drive, and I did it. And then also was very scared to drive in the freeway to Los Angeles, because Los Angeles, as you know, is very huge. And I was very scared. And I said, okay, I need to try it. And I made it again. In so many ways, I in my life, so many obstacles. And for example, about the language, to go to the hospital with my babies. And I said, okay, this is the next. I believe about that. So I need to enroll to Mount Sa College at that time, 10 years ago, just for taking just 1, 2, 3 levels, very small session. So to try speak just a little simple, my children are sick or has a fever, very, very short sentences. And I made it. So it was very hard for me. And also I never worked at that time because I'm very busy with my 3 children day by day. And I said, okay, my husband is a very hard worker, and said, okay, Fernando, I need to knocking doors by doors to sell beauty products. And that's another same attack. And I did it also. For another part, 3 years ago, I had a big car accident, very terrible. And almost I lost my life with my 3 children, and start again to driving. And I was crying so much for just 1 month. And I said, no, I can't drive again. I can't drive again. So my husband said, honey, please, I don't have any family here. And I said, okay, it's necessary to do it. It was very hard again to take my car, another car. So I did it, and I did it. And recently, to apply for a job was the strongest limitation for me. So no, Marilena, just apply, and maybe it's a good opportunity for you. So I applied for the LA County, and oh my God, what my surprise that LA County give me that job right now. So my challenge right now is speaking in public. So I'm still working just little by little, and I know nothing is impossible. Just my limitation is no more. So maybe one day I improve my speaking in public and start again. And I'm still learning more fluently English in Citrus College right now. So to make my conversation more clearly, more fluently, and for my community, especially for my community. But thank you so much for listening to me.
Well, that's really so inspiring, Mariana. What a resume of a life lived, pursuing what's important to you in the face of these challenges. It's really, and it sounds like even talking right here is a little bit of a shame attack for you, which we wouldn't know that because you speak so beautifully.
You are so kind. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Lee, we are just kind of wrapping up here and seeing if there are last comments or questions folks would have before we say goodbye to our 2021 World Championships.
Yes. If you haven't covered, I'd love to hear if you have shame attack aspirations or dreams of the future as we end and go off. Was that already covered, Daniel? Oh, great. Good. Maybe that's a nice ending point.
I'm really want to know what is the young lady, because I want to remember your name.
Oh, Mia.
Yes.
Thank you. It's Haruka. Haruka. Haruka.
Erica?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Erica.
And on that question, I think one of the goals would be that like before I went into the shame attacking, I thought this was a one and done kind of thing. Like I do it and then like all my fears would be gone and I would just be living anxiety free, fearless in this world. But well, it wasn't the case. I still, like going in some social settings, I do still feel kind of anxious sometimes, and sometimes I'm worried, sometimes I'm scared, but now I'm able to push myself a little bit more. And so I think my aspiration, my next step would be that I continue this really. And yeah, as you said, Maria, then I think it really tells us that there's really no limits, or even if there is, the limit is really much further than you initially thought they were. I mean, maybe not always, but in most cases, I've at least that's what my experience has taught me. So if I can try to push that line a bit more further and further, yeah, life would be much more exciting, and I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
My goals, one of my goals right now is encourage to my people, my community, especially Latin community. It's very important because I have a lot of friends who didn't drive for many 20, 30 years. And I said, just, I can help you. And sometimes say, really, Mahelena? They go, really? And sometimes just I'm helping just one lady right now. Also, we have a lot of opportunities in this beautiful country to learn English for free, which is in my country is very impossible, because in my nation always, if you have a little money to have a private lesson, just will take. But another way, very poor people doesn't have this opportunity in many ways in this country. So my goal is encourage more more my community.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Maria Elena and Haruka. It's wonderful to join you, and congratulations on your shame attacking. You're an inspiration for us and the whole community.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, I appreciate, Haruka, you reminding us that we have to inoculate ourselves from social anxiety or shame. We can break through and be free, and then those old habits of mind can reform. And when we're back doing public speaking or whatever it would be, we'll find ourselves again becoming nervous. So if we want to, we can do what worked the first time and inoculate ourselves again. And then Maria Elena, I think you're putting your finger on something essential, which is if we want to consolidate the gains that we make, living more fearlessly, more openly, more lovingly with others, we're probably going to be helping others do that. It's exciting for me to have that cohort of low intensity CBT promotoras who are now working in the Pomona Valley. I know Haruka has an interest as well in LICBT and providing these wonderful tools to her community in Japan. So that's how we stay well, by helping others be well. And I think all of you are very inspirational examples of that in my life.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all of you, and thanks to our viewers for joining us. If you missed out on this year's contest, there's always next year. The submissions will open on my birthday, April 1st, and we will announce the winners on the Independence Day in the United States, declare our independence from shame. So the wheels can start turning, and we'll look forward to getting all of your submissions for our contest next year.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Heather, Lane, and Erica. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to meet you.
Thank you very much. It was such an honor and joy to be actually speaking with the people I only see on YouTube. So.
Oh, yes, all right. Well, adios, sayonara. Does one say sayonara? Yeah, ciao. What do they say in the Adirondacks, Heather? See ya?
Next mountain.
Next mountain. I like that. Yeah.
I just made that up, but yes.
Yeah. All right, you guys, until next year.
Okay, thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bless you too, Maria Elena.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.